I was cleaning out the spare bedroom on a Sunday afternoon, not because I wanted to, because I had run out of excuses not to. The room had become what every spare bedroom eventually becomes when you stop paying attention, a graveyard for things you do not use but cannot throw away. Boxes of old clothes, a broken lamp, tax documents from years I could barely remember, the accumulated debris of a life lived on autopilot. I was pulling out a drawer from an old dresser, the kind of heavy wooden dresser nobody buys anymore, when something slid to the back and hit the wall with a small metallic sound. I reached in, my fingers brushing against dust and forgotten receipts, and pulled out a watch. It was a silver wristwatch, nothing expensive. The brand name had worn off the face years ago. The leather strap was cracked and stiff, dark with age and the ghost of old sweat. The crystal was scratched, but not broken. It was the kind of watch you could buy at a department store for $40, the kind of watch nobody would look at twice. But I looked at it. I looked at it for a very long time. Because I knew this watch. I knew it the way you know the sound of a door closing in a house you grew up in. I knew it before my conscious mind caught up. My body recognized it first. A physical jolt, a tightening in my throat, a sudden heaviness behind my eyes that I had not felt in years. It was my father's watch. And it was still ticking. My father had been dead for 7 years. 7 years, 3 months, and 11 days. He died of a heart attack in his sleep, which everyone said was a peaceful way to go, and maybe it was. But the silence he left behind was not peaceful. It was enormous. It was the kind of silence that fills an entire house, an entire life, and you do not even realize how loud it is until years later when you find a watch in a drawer and hear it ticking, and suddenly the silence has a sound. I held the watch to my ear. Tick, tick, tick. Steady, patient, relentless. The same rhythm it had kept for decades on my father's wrist while he walked dark hallways and empty parking lots and long, cold corridors that nobody else wanted to walk. I turned the watch over. The back was smooth steel, slightly dented. And then I noticed something. The case back was not fully seated. There was a hairline gap along the edge, as if something was preventing it from closing flush. I pressed my thumbnail into the gap and pried it open. Inside, wedged between the case back and the mechanism, was a small piece of paper, folded 4 times into a square no bigger than a postage stamp, yellowed, fragile, old. I unfolded it with hands that were shaking so badly I nearly tore it. The handwriting was small, cramped, written in pencil that had faded to the color of dust. But I could read it, every word, and those words demolished me. To understand the note, you have to understand the man. And to understand the man, you have to understand what it means to be invisible. My father's name was Joseph Carver. He was born in 1955 in a town so small it did not appear on most maps. His mother cleaned houses. His father drove a delivery truck. They were not poor in the dramatic, cinematic way that makes for a good story. They were poor in the ordinary, grinding, invisible way that most poverty actually looks like. Not starving, but always calculating. Not homeless, but always one emergency away from it. Not hopeless, but never quite able to see the horizon. Joseph left school at 16, not because he was not smart. He was sharp, curious, the kind of kid who read the encyclopedia for fun when other kids were playing outside. He left because his father hurt his back and someone had to bring in money. That was what you did. You did not discuss it. You did not negotiate. The family needed income, and you were the closest pair of hands. He worked construction for a while. Then a warehouse, then a loading dock. Then, at 26, He got a job as a night security guard at Whitfield Medical Center, a mid-sized hospital on the edge of town. The shift was 10:00 p.m. to 6:00 a.m., 5 nights a week. The pay was modest. The work was invisible. He took the job because it was steady, because it came with health insurance, and because the night shift paid slightly more than the day shift. That slight difference, 63 cents more per hour, was the reason my father spent 30 years of his life in the dark. Do you understand what that means? 63 cents. That is what bought him. That is what traded his sunlight for fluorescent corridors. That is what kept him walking empty hallways from 10:00 p.m. to 6:00 a.m. for 3 decades while the rest of the world slept. He married my mother, Sandra, when he was 28. I was born when he was 30. My brother, Kyle, came 2 years later. We lived in a small house on Greystone Avenue, 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a yard just big enough for a swing set and a rusted barbecue grill. I grew up thinking my father was a quiet man. That was the word everyone used. Quiet. Joseph is so quiet. Your father is such a quiet man. As if quiet were a personality trait, like being funny or being tall. But my father was not quiet by nature. He was quiet by exhaustion. Every night he put on his uniform, a navy blue shirt with a patch on the shoulder, dark pants, black shoes he polished every Sunday, and he left the house at 9:30 p.m. I rarely saw him leave because I was usually in bed by then. I rarely saw him come home because he arrived at 6:30 a.m., showered, ate a piece of toast standing over the kitchen sink, and went to sleep in the bedroom with the curtains pulled shut and a towel stuffed under the door to block the light. He slept while I ate breakfast. He slept while I went to school. He slept while the neighborhood kids played outside and the sun moved across the sky and the world lived its daytime life without him. He woke at 4 p.m., groggy and disoriented, with dark circles under his eyes that never fully faded. He ate dinner with us, the only meal we shared, and then he dressed for work again and disappeared into the night. I did not appreciate this when I was young. Children are not equipped to appreciate sacrifice. They accept it the way they accept gravity, as a constant, invisible force that simply exists. I did not understand that every hour my father spent walking those empty hospital corridors was an hour he was buying for me. Every holiday he worked was a holiday he traded so I could have Christmas presents and birthday cakes and new shoes in September. He never said this. He never made speeches about sacrifice. He never sat me down and said, "Look at what I am giving up for you." He just did it, night after night, year after year, decade after decade. Silently, invisibly. The way a foundation holds up a house, no one ever looks at it, no one ever thinks about it, but the moment it cracks, everything falls. The note was written in pencil on a scrap of paper torn from a small notebook. The kind of notebook he used to carry in his shirt pocket. It was not dated, but from the fading and the condition of the paper, I guessed it was at least 15 years old. He had written it long before he died. He had folded it into his watch and kept it there, ticking against his wrist, for years. It read, "Things I wanted to do. Learn to play the piano, see the ocean, read every book in the library on Elm Street, write a story, even a short one. Tell Nadia she is the reason I get up every night. Not the alarm, her. Ask Sandra to dance in the kitchen one more time. Finish." That was it. 7 lines. 41 words. A man's entire unlived life folded into a square the size of a stamp and hidden inside a $40 watch. He wanted to play the piano. I never knew that. There was no piano in our house. There was never even a conversation about music. He listened to the radio sometimes, old jazz, mostly, but I thought that was just background noise. I did not know it was longing. He wanted to see the ocean. My father lived 68 years and never once saw the ocean. Not once. The hospital was 90 miles inland. The coast was a 6-hour drive. He never took the trip. He never asked for the time off. He never mentioned it. He wanted to read every book in the library. I remembered then a flash of memory so sharp it almost cut me that when I was very young, maybe 6 or 7, my father used to take me to the library on Saturday mornings. He would sit in the corner with a stack of books and read while I played in the children's section. He read slowly, carefully, turning each page like it was something precious. I stopped going to the library when I turned 10. He never went again. I wonder now if he only went because of me. I wonder if I took the library from him when I outgrew it. He wanted to write a story. My father, the night security guard, the invisible man, the quiet man, wanted to write a story. And he never did. He never wrote anything except this note. 41 words, the shortest and saddest story ever told. He wanted to tell me I was the reason he got up every night, not the alarm, me. He never said it. He kept it inside his watch instead. He wore those words against his pulse for years and never spoke them aloud. He wanted to dance with my mother in the kitchen, one more time, which meant they had danced before. And I never knew that either. I never knew my parents danced. And the last item on the list? Finish. Just the one word. Finish. Finish what? The story he wanted to write? The life he wanted to live? The list itself? I will never know what he meant by finish because he died before he could finish anything. I sat on the floor of that spare bedroom holding a dead man's watch and a dead man's dreams, and I wept. Not the polite, controlled crying I did at his funeral, the ugly kind. The kind that comes from a place so deep inside you that it feels like your organs are being rearranged. I wept for the piano he never played. I wept for the ocean he never saw. I wept for the stories he never wrote, and the words he never spoke, and the dances that happened in a kitchen I took for granted. And then, slowly, terribly, inevitably, I stopped crying for him and started crying for myself. Because I realized, sitting on that dusty floor with his watch ticking against my palm, that I was doing the exact same thing. Not the same job, not the same circumstances, but the same surrender, the same quiet, daily, invisible act of pushing my own list, my own dreams, my own desires, my own unsaid words, deeper and deeper into a drawer I never opened. I am 37 years old. I work as an office administrator for a logistics company. I have held this job for 9 years. I do not hate it. That is the most dangerous thing I can say about it. I do not hate it. It is fine. The pay is fine. The hours are fine. My desk is fine. My life is fine. Fine. The most anesthetic word in the English language. Fine is not good. Fine is not alive. Fine is the emotional equivalent of beige pont. Fine is what you say when someone asks how you are and you do not have the energy to tell the truth. The truth is, I am disappearing. I have been disappearing for years. I wanted to be a photographer, not a hobby photographer, a real one, the kind who travels to places that make your chest ache and captures the light in a way that makes strangers feel something they cannot name. I was good. I was genuinely, demonstrably good. My college professor told me I had an eye that most people spend their entire careers trying to develop. I had it naturally. I stopped shooting 4 years ago. My camera is in a closet. The battery is dead. The lens cap has been on so long it is probably fused shut. I stopped because life got busy. I stopped because I told myself photography was not practical. I stopped because the gap between where I was and where I wanted to be seemed so vast that crossing it felt more exhausting than staying still. I stopped for the same reason my father never played the piano, for the same reason he never saw the ocean, for the same reason he kept his dreams folded inside a watch instead of holding them in his hands. And I want to grab you right now. Whatever you are doing, driving, walking, lying in bed, sitting in an office, pretending to work, I want to reach through this screen and grab you by the shoulders and shake you the way that watch shook me. Because you are doing it too. You have a list. Maybe you have not written it down. Maybe it exists only as a low hum in the back of your mind, a frequency you have learned to ignore the way you ignore traffic noise or the ticking of a clock. But the list is there. The things you wanted to do, the person you wanted to become, the places you wanted to see, the words you wanted to say, the life you wanted to live. And day after day, you fold that list smaller and smaller and push it further and further into the back of the drawer until you forget it is there. Until someone asks you what you are passionate about and you open your mouth and nothing comes out because you have been silent for so long that your voice has atrophied. Your father or your mother or the person who sacrificed for you, whoever that was, they did not work in the dark so you could live in the gray. They did not trade their sunlight so you could spend yours scrolling through a phone and calling it a life. They did not give you their years so you could waste your own. Every morning you wake up and choose comfort over growth, you are taking the sacrifice of the person who built you and crumpling it like a receipt. Every time you say tomorrow, next week, next year, someday, you are adding another line to a list that nobody will ever read. We worship comfort. We have built an entire civilization around the elimination of friction. Same-day delivery so you never have to wait. Streaming services so you never have to be bored. Curated feeds so you never have to think. We have engineered a world where you can live an entire life without ever being truly uncomfortable. And it is killing you. Not your body, your spirit, your edge, the sharp, hungry, restless part of you that used to look at the world and think, I want more. That part is being suffocated under layers of convenience and routine and the warm, heavy blanket of good enough. My father's comfort zone was that night shift. He hated it. I know that now, reading between the lines of that note. He hated the darkness, the isolation, the slow erosion of his daylight hours, but he stayed because staying was safe, staying was predictable. Staying meant the paycheck came every 2 weeks, and the insurance covered the kids, and the mortgage got paid, and nobody had to worry. He stayed in a life he did not want so his family could have a life they took for granted. And the terrible truth, the truth that burns like acid in my chest, is that his sacrifice only has meaning if the people he sacrificed for actually live, not exist, not function, not survive, live. Fully, recklessly, with every door kicked open and every road explored and every single day treated like the unrepeatable miracle it actually is. And I was not doing that. And you are not doing that. You are sleepwalking. You are going through the motions with the enthusiasm of a person filling out a form. Wake up, commute, work, commute, eat, scroll, sleep, repeat. A hamster wheel with better furniture. A treadmill with a view. You are moving constantly and arriving nowhere. The cost of comfort is not what you pay. It is what you never earn. It is the version of yourself you will never meet because you chose the couch over the climb. It is the view from the summit you will never see because the trail looked too steep from the parking lot. It is the life that exists on the other side of every hard thing you refuse to do. My father paid for my comfort with his life. Literally. 30 years of night shifts wore his heart down the way water wears down a stone. Slowly, invisibly. until there was nothing left. The doctors said it was cardiovascular disease. I say it was 30 years of trading sleep for survival, 30 years of walking dark corridors while his body begged for rest. He did that for me. And what have I done with it? I have a fine job, a fine apartment, a fine routine. Fine, fine, fine. The word tastes like ash in my mouth now. Because fine is not what he died for. He did not walk 30 years of darkness so I could live in gray. You cannot repay the people who built you with money. You cannot write a check to cover the years your mother spent awake worrying about you. You cannot send a wire transfer to compensate for the dreams your father folded into his watch and never opened. The only currency that honors their sacrifice is your life, not the safe version, not the edited, filtered, socially acceptable version, the real version, the messy, brave, terrifying, fully expressed version, the version where you take every gift they gave you, every early morning they woke for, every late night they endured, every dollar they stretched until it screamed, and you invest it into becoming something so extraordinary that their sacrifice echoes through time. Think about that for a moment. Really think about it. Someone, maybe sitting in this room in spirit right now, gave up years of their life so you could have years of yours. They ate less so you could eat more. They wore old shoes so you could have new ones. They swallowed their dreams so yours could breathe. And what are you doing with those years? Are you building something? Are you creating something? Are you pushing toward the edge of your capability every single day? Or are you sitting in the comfort they bought you, using it as a pillow instead of a launching pad? I do not say this to make you feel guilty. Guilt is useless. Guilt sits in the corner and cries. I say this to make you feel furious. I want you to feel the same white-hot fury I felt sitting on that floor with my father's watch ticking in my hand. Not fury at him, not fury at the world, fury at yourself. At the version of you that has been sleepwalking through the most precious gift you will ever receive, the gift of time, paid for with someone else's. Fury is useful. Fury gets things done. Fury is the match that sets the bonfire. You should be furious that you have wasted days. You should be furious that you have settled for fine. You should be furious that somewhere inside you there is a masterpiece rotting in a drawer because you were too comfortable to pull it out and show it to the world. The watch is still ticking. Do you hear it? Not my father's watch. Yours. The invisible clock strapped to your wrist the day you were born. It is counting down, and you do not know the number it started at. Nobody does. That is the most terrifying and liberating truth in existence. You do not know how much time you have left. You assume it is a lot. You assume there will be a tomorrow and a next week and a next year and decades stretching out ahead of you like a highway with no end. But my father assumed that too. He was going to see the ocean someday. He was going to play the piano someday. He was going to write his story someday. Someday never came. It never does. Someday is not a day of the week. Someday is a lie you tell yourself to make the present bearable. Someday is tomorrow's ghost. It does not exist except as a place where you store the things you are too afraid to do today. Every second that passes is a second you cannot get back. Not with money, not with regret, not with prayer, not with anything. It is gone, permanently, irreversibly, absolutely gone. And you spent it scrolling. You spent it worrying about what people think. You spent it arguing with strangers on the internet. You spent it watching someone else live their dream on a screen while yours collected dust in a closet next to a camera with a dead battery. I am not asking you to be perfect. I am asking you to be present. I am asking you to treat every hour like what it actually is, a non-renewable resource extracted from the finite mine of your existence. You would not pour gasoline on the ground and light a match, but that is exactly what you do every time you waste a day. You are burning fuel you cannot replace on a fire that warms no one. My father's watch was an automatic, the kind that winds itself from the movement of the wearer's wrist. That is why it was still running after 7 years. The vibration of being carried from room to room, jostled in the drawer, shifted and shaken by the ordinary motion of life, kept the mechanism alive. Do you understand what that means? The watch did not need a battery. It did not need external power. It only needed movement, motion, action. As long as something was moving, the watch kept going. You are the same. You do not need a motivational video to power you. You do not need someone to plug you in and charge you up. You need movement. You need to get off the couch and move. Take one step, make one call, write one page, pick up the camera, open the book, send the email, start the business, have the conversation. Do the thing you have been avoiding because avoiding it feels safer than failing at it. The watch does not care how big the movement is. A tiny vibration keeps it running the same as a violent shake. It just needs motion. And so do you. Stop waiting for the earthquake. Start with the tremor. Start with the smallest possible action and let the momentum build. I went to my father's grave the week after I found the watch. I had not been there in over a year. The headstone was simple: his name, his dates, and a line my mother chose: beloved husband and father. No mention of 30 years of night shifts, no mention of the corridors, no mention of the darkness he walked through every night so his family could walk in the light. I sat on the ground next to the headstone and I talked to him. I told him about the watch. I told him about the note. I told him I was sorry that I never asked him about the piano, sorry that I never drove him to the ocean, sorry that I stopped going to the library, sorry that I grew up and got busy and forgot that the man who made my mornings possible was spending his nights alone in empty hallways. I told him I was going to finish his list. Not for him, it was too late for him. For me. Because his list and my list were the same list. The same unlived dreams, the same sealed envelopes, the same silence. I told him I was going to learn piano. I was going to see the ocean. I was going to read and write and dance in the kitchen. And I was going to take photographs again, real photographs, the kind that make strangers feel something they cannot name. And I told him the one thing he never told me but wrote inside his watch: you are the reason I get up. Now I am telling you. Whoever built your morning, whoever worked the shift, whoever skipped the meal, whoever wore the old shoes, whoever folded their dreams into a square the size of a stamp and hid them inside a watch, they are watching. Maybe not from a grave. Maybe they are still alive, still working, still invisible, still waiting for you to become the person they sacrificed everything for. Do not make them wait any longer. Do not make them die wondering if it was worth it. Do not make their last thought be, I gave everything and it made no difference. Make it matter. Make every second they traded count. Make the sacrifice echo through generations. Live so loudly, so fully, so fearlessly that their silent years become the foundation of something the world cannot ignore. I went home from the cemetery and I did 3 things. First, I pulled my camera out of the closet. I charged the battery. I cleaned the lens. I took it outside and photographed the sunset, the first photograph I had taken in 4 years. It was not perfect. It was not gallery worthy. But the shutter clicked and the sound went through me like electricity. Second, I called my mother. I asked her about the kitchen dancing. She was quiet for a long time. Then she laughed, a real laugh, the kind I had not heard from her in years, and she said, He used to turn on the radio after dinner and pull me out of my chair. He was a terrible dancer, but he always tried. Third, I sat at my kitchen table and I started a list. Not a list of things I wanted to do someday, a list of things I was going to do now. This week, this month, this year. And at the top of the list, I wrote, see the ocean. For him, for me, for the 30 years of darkness that bought my light. I drove to the coast the following Saturday, 6 hours each way. I stood on the sand at 7:00 a.m. and watched the sunrise over the Atlantic. The water was gray and green and enormous, and it moved like something alive. I held my father's watch in my hand, and I let the sound of the waves mix with the ticking, and I stood there until my legs went numb and my eyes burned with salt and tears and wind. I was not just standing there for myself. I was standing there for a man who polished his shoes every Sunday and walked dark hallways for 30 years and never once saw the ocean. I was his eyes. I was his feet in the sand. I was the finish line he never crossed. And I am telling you now, in the same way that note told me, that the watch is ticking. Your watch. Not the one on your wrist, the one inside your chest, the one that started the day you were born and will stop on a day you do not get to choose. How many ticks have you wasted? How many beats have you spent on fear and hesitation and the slow, comfortable poison of good enough? How many sunrises have you missed because you were too busy sleeping through the life someone built for you? It does not matter. It does not matter how many you wasted because the next one has not happened yet. The next tick is still yours. The next beat is still available. The next sunrise is still waiting for you to show up and witness it with your whole chest. So show up. Get up from wherever you are sitting. Pull the dream out of the drawer. Wipe off the dust. Charge the battery. Clean the lens. Open the list. Pick up the pen. And start. Not tomorrow, not Monday, not when the timing is right. The timing will never be right. The timing was not right for my father. He waited for the right time to see the ocean, and the right time turned out to be never. You do not have the luxury of never. You have now. Right now. This breath, this heartbeat, this one wild, unrepeatable, ticking second. My father kept his dreams inside a watch. I keep mine inside my hands, open, visible, moving. Because the watch taught me the only lesson that matters, it is not about how much time you have. It is about whether you are moving while you have it. The second hand does not pause for your comfort. It does not slow down for your excuses. It does not care that you are tired, scared, broke, or broken. It simply moves. And it asks you one question with every tick. Are you moving with me? Or are you standing still while I leave you behind? The watch is ticking. What are you going to do? If this story reached into your chest and grabbed something that was sleeping, do not let it fall back asleep. Hit that subscribe button right now. Join the people who have decided that fine is no longer good enough. Drop a comment below and type "the watch is ticking" to declare that you are done wasting the life someone built for you. Share this with the person in your life who is sleepwalking through the gift of time. And remember, your father, your mother, whoever carried you through the dark, they are not asking you to be perfect. They are asking you to be alive. Now close this screen and go finish the list. He kept his dreams inside a $40 watch. I keep mine inside my hands. Moving. Alive. Nadia Carver, age 37.